What's up, world? Welcome to the very first... Okay. All right. What's up, world? Welcome to the very first episode of Humanhood, a series brought to you by yours truly, Melanie Peralta and...
Casey Riley.
Casey and I have been wanting to bring this vision together for some months now. And our intention in creating this was really to humanize the human experience, because as crazy as it sounds, it feels like we're not really allowed to be human these days anymore, especially in the personal development world as teachers, leaders, healers, public figures of any kind. We don't have, or it doesn't feel like we have as much freedom to simply be human. And there's a lot of conversations that aren't being had, especially in our industry, because there's a reputation to protect, and there's a brand to make sure looks and feels a certain way. So sometimes it pulls us out of our humanhood. And this is a space where we are committed to having those conversations. We're committed to raw, real, authentic expression, just keeping it a buck with you guys, getting out of our comfort zone, pushing our edges, sharing some things that sometimes we are afraid to share publicly on social media. This will be the first time we share certain things probably in a public space at all. So anything that you'd like to say, Casey?
Yeah, and really what I love about our dynamic is, although we do share a lot of the same beliefs, we do have different beliefs.
We do.
And it's a beautiful way to showcase dialogue, and not fighting and hatred and whatnot, but it's really listening, loving and accepting another perspective. And then I love having those real-time realizations, where I just had one with you a moment ago, where, you come in with a belief and then you say something really profound and it lands, and it's like, wait a second. Yeah, no, you're right when you say that. I still believe what I feel, but thank you for that dynamic shift.
Yeah.
And now I can think more expansively in this way. And I just love that dynamic about you and I, because we can bring that to one another and really hear each other and just love each other through it. So that's always fun.
Are you nervous about anything?
Oh, yeah.
What are you scared? I'm scared too. I'm scared.
To be honest, I'm nervous about a couple of things.
Really?
The first one is what we just shared about, is exposing another layer of self and allowing myself to go there and push my own edges, because I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I do show up a very certain way. It's still me.
Yeah.
But the things that we're going to talk about are only things usually we talk about.
Yeah.
Our friends talk about, because I know the love and acceptance is going to be there.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I know that not everyone receives information that way. Mm-hmm. And so that for me, that brings up, what if I'm not loved? What if I'm not accepted? What if someone no longer wants to be a part of my world because of what I shared?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, what might family think?
That's mine too. I'm like, I don't really give a fuck about the outside world as much as I care about my family.
Yeah. But you share so much about your family.
I do.
And again, this is an opportunity to go a layer deeper if you want. I don't share shit about my family.
Yeah.
I don't share anything, but our upbringing and our family dynamics is a huge part of who we are in these conversations.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to air anyone's dirty laundry out. Yeah. But also, I want to express myself, because I know that when I do share this stuff, people are like, I had no idea. And thank you for sharing that.
Totally.
I am moving through that too.
Totally.
So that's really what I'm a little nervous about, but I want to hear more from
Honestly,
you.
that's the same exact thing. It is... I care about my family so much, and my dad and my mom, and we'll dive into the dynamics of that more throughout the series, but just being so vulnerable and open and raw about some of the most intimate aspects of my journey, but some of the most important aspects of my journey, so that again we can drop into that human experience at the fullest capacity, with no limitations from society or family or whatever it is, Yeah. So I would love to drop into our conversation of our humanhood journeys. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out and a huge thank you to our sponsors, I Do Experiences, for giving us this space to host our series in, and our sponsors, Ananda Elixirs. We will be sipping on these a little bit later. This is an incredible product. It is a super shroom soda elixir. Literally, all you do is put 2 droppers into sparkling water and it immediately turns it into your favorite soda. My favorite flavor is root beer. They have cola, they have lemon lime, they have cream soda. I literally can give my son a soda when he's sick and it'll help him be well. It's got 4 superfood mushrooms in it. It has turkey tail, reishi, cordyceps, and lion's mane. If you don't know anything about those mushrooms, do your research and swap out the trash soda in your kitchen for a super shroom soda by Nanda Elixirs.
And can we just talk about the root beer floats we had for Humanhood Wellness Weekend?
Oh my God. I'm still making those.
They're so good.
So good.
And for someone who is really mindful of, like, I would never have a root beer float these days. Ever. And when Q made those, can I have seconds? Because it was just so healthy and clean. And honestly, it tasted like a root beer float.
Yeah.
I was screaming, like jumping
So
on the trampoline, eating the freaking root beer float.
Yeah, I know.
So good.
So good.
Yes.
So good. So shout out to Ananda Elixirs and I Do Experiences for being our sponsors. All right. So for this episode, we really wanted to take a walk down our personal humanhood experiences just to really as an introduction, so you all know who the hell we are and why we're even here talking to you guys right now. So actually, Casey, if you want to go first.
Oh, okay.
No pressure.
I was going to sit back and listen to you. Wow. I mean, when you think about, and the reason why this is important is because we all look at certain people in our life, whether it's a coach or your boss or a celebrity, whoever it is, and we start to judge them and form opinions about them based on what we see. Right. And we don't really know their history, what they've gone through. I mean, if you just even think about the statistics of people who have been sexually assaulted and abused throughout their life, you would just never think that this person had gone through something like that.
Right.
And so we really just want to share a little bit about us to help set a foundation for who we are and how we got into this space.
Yeah.
Because it does. All these little things shape us. And so I'll keep it brief because I know in our future episodes we're going to dive into these things and dissect it more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, something I hear all the time when people talk to me and get to know me is, I thought you were some rich little white girl who had a perfect life. And I had no idea that that's where you came from, or that's your history, or that's what you've been through. And for me, I think that really started, one of the most shocking things is when I was young. I grew up with my mom, my sister, and then for a short period of time, my dad. Mm. It was the 4 of us. We lived in Wisconsin. And then learned something new. And then we moved to Arizona. And when we moved to Arizona, and please, note that my memory is very shoddy from when I'm a kid. So I'll say general ages and time frames, but we moved here when I was little, and sometime between the ages of 5 and 7-ish, our life really changed. It was no longer the 4 of us. My dad got arrested and went to prison, and that was the last time my sister and I or my mom ever saw him. And that whole experience was very traumatic. And if you can imagine being 5 or 6 years old, I don't remember ever having a conversation about what happened. Mm. Our life just moved on. Mm. And so, little Casey, 5, 6 years old, watches her dad get arrested, watches him getting dragged out of the house, and we move, and then that's it. That's the last time I see dad. And so from there, my mom, bless her heart, she pulled us out of that situation and completely turned our lives around. Mm-hmm. She gave us really an incredible life. We always had amazing shelter and enough food and nice clothes. But she was a stressed out mom, a stressed out single mom of 2. And so there wasn't a lot of emotional capacity to hold our emotions and our expressions. Yeah. And so I took on the role of sitting back, don't rock the boat, keep everything in and just like do not add to the problems.
Yeah.
My sister did not. But, you know, I was just this observant little girl, like, how do I stay out of the trouble?
Yeah.
And so as life went on, you know, I definitely became super rebellious, which we can get into later, but definitely got rebellious in high school. That ended, and, you know, another beautiful gift that my mom and my stepdad gifted me was a lot of real life entrepreneurial experience. I watched them again being super observant, sitting back, watching them build this incredible business. And I really absorbed all of that in and was able to apply that to a lot of the things that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know, where my upbringing started and just like some major pieces that have shaped me along the way. But there's so many things from even beyond that we're going to get into in later episodes. But that's really what led me here and really shaped who I am now.
Which is
a somatic breathwork practitioner, but I also really am a wellness entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, I create a lot of merch. It's kind of turning into a clothing line at this point.
Honestly, it is. It's lit too. It's lit.
It is. You know, I'm an instructor and I help other practitioners become practitioners. I'm a business consultant for those practitioners and help them build their businesses. And I mean, I thrive off of this stuff. Like this, what we're doing here, I'm like, let's fucking go, baby. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what, you know, all the little pieces of the recipe that created Casey amongst many other things. But long story short, that's me. That's my upbringing. Yeah.
First of all, I did not know you were from Wisconsin, bitch. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, you were like, wait,
really? You're
Wisconsin?
I had no idea.
It was very short-lived, but it's so interesting when I think back to that time in my life, because again, my memory is really shoddy from those days.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty sure my dad's family was a big deal out there, you know, from what I remember.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could too.
I could see that. I could see that in your bloodline.
Yeah, and then he just got into some bad shit. And that's like what life is, you know? He was this good, hardworking man, ended up getting cancer, broke his back, couldn't work anymore, and then started using drugs. Oh, man. And then, you know what drugs get you into? It's not good. Like, that's how fast life can turn.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough about me.
Yeah,
Let's hear about you, little Melanie.
Little Mel, little mijita Mel. Well, today I am a transformational mindset coach and conscious event creator, very much a creative wellness entrepreneur myself. I do so many different things. I always call myself a multidimensional entrepreneur. But I didn't grow up with anybody in my family who had a business, built business, was entrepreneur, anything like that. I come from a very small copper mining town called Superior. All of my family's from there, my mom's side and my dad's side. I come from a family full of addicts, alcoholics. Both of my parents were addicts and alcoholics. I was raised by a single father because after my dad went to prison, got out of prison, changed his life, but then my mom was on drugs. So he got full custody of me, which is crazy, like convicted felon fresh out of prison gets full custody of their daughter. Like, whoa, in what world?
Right.
In a miracle, which that's totally what it was. So I was raised by a single father. I didn't really have my mom in my life. She was kind of like in and out of my life. And I went through a lot as a kid, man. I went through so much just being exposed to that addict, addiction, alcoholic life. We had pedophiles in my family, you know, stuff like that. But I was so committed to like rising above everything that I came from. I was such an overachiever in school. I was like, had to be the top of everything, the best of everything, like top student. I was like class president, everything that you could be. I always aimed for that. And I fell in love with music very young. I started singing very young, and I ended up in the music industry at a really high level, very young. In junior high and high school, I was literally doing like artist development with people who were working for Atlantic Records. I moved to Atlanta after I graduated. So I was in the music industry for a long time as an aspiring singer-songwriter. And then eventually I woke up and was like, fuck the music industry. I'm out of here. And like I went on my spiritual journey, and I got pregnant with my son when I was 21. I got pregnant with Vakai at 21, which is funny because I remember in junior high when I was 13 and I thought that 21 was so old. I always was like, yeah, I'm going to have my first baby at 21. But I'm like, actually, that's really young, bitch.
Yeah.
But I got pregnant with Vakai, and he inspired me to share what I learned, you know, because I had so much trauma from my childhood. That I had a lot of my own healing to do. Like, same thing as you. When I got into a teenager, all that goody two shoes, top of the class shit went out the window, and I was getting into a lot of trouble. I was making so many bad choices, hanging out with all the wrong people. I was kicking it with all the Pyru Bloods every weekend, drinking 40s in Buckeye, bitch. Like, what was I doing in Buckeye?
Yeah, what were you doing in Buckeye? It's boring out there.
If you're from Arizona and you were in the party crew era, you were in Buckeye too. I know you were.
Not in Buckeye.
Okay, well,
I was in Tucson.
Okay, well, that makes sense. But yeah, like I went through that rebellious stage and I had a lot of fucking demons, dude. Like literally, I was managing an escort service when I was 19 years old. Like, yeah, just making all the wrong choices. And finally, I saw myself and went down my healing journey. And then when I had Vakai, I was like, oh my God, I did heal myself quite literally, which we'll dive deeper into that later. But I was like, I need to teach women what I know. I must. Like, I have to share this information. I have to. And that was in 2016. So through my first personal development event, had 32 women there. Years later, we had hundreds of women coming to that event. And that's what led me to being a coach and an event creator and a leader and teacher, and now doing all the things that I do. So I know.
Yeah. It's so funny, like thinking back to all of this, because I feel like when I think of our lives, like obviously you've shared this story with me so many times, and you share it all the time, but listening to it again, like painting that picture of everything you've been through, and even like Vakai, I'm like, of course you have Vakai. Like, oh my gosh, and he was such a pillar in why you're doing what you do.
Oh, he is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And what I love that you, like a big one of your core values is spreading the message of conscious parenting, which I love to hear. It like brings me to tears, like you and Q and Betty. I love seeing how you parent your children like so consciously and with so much love, but also not baby and smothering at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool to see such amazing parents in this day and age. Yeah, you're welcome. It feels really like things are just breaking the pattern.
Yeah. Oh, 1000%. In so many ways. Because Kai has everything that I never had. Even though I had the most amazing dad, he wasn't a conscious parent. You know, I was eating fucking Hot Pockets and raviolis and like canned meats. You know?
Which is funny because we never were allowed to have that stuff.
Really?
My mom was always pretty health conscious.
Wow.
She was like into fitness for a long time.
Yeah.
And honestly, we couldn't afford all that extra stuff. So it was like
fruits and vegetables,
spaghetti and like sandwiches, like healthier options though, but like no hot pot. I would beg for a fruit roll up, and she's like, no, like, yeah, you're not having that, but B, we can't have all the extra stuff.
Right.
Like, just what we need here, and that's it. And those were solid foods. So that's funny.
Yeah, well, going back to what you said, as far as like people thought that you were just some rich white girl and stuff, I think that's a really, really important topic to dive deeper into, is because the truth is you really don't know most people as much as you think you do. Yeah. And in this industry, with everybody on social media and everybody, you know, has their platform and stuff like that, it's real easy to think that you have somebody figured out. People to this day, when they see me, who and how I am now, they can't imagine that I ever used to be like a trifling ass pimp. Like, they can't imagine. Yeah. You know, like they can't imagine that I used to cheat on all my boyfriends, that I used to like do my homegirls dirty. Like they can't imagine that I was not this version of me. And so I think it's so important that it's like taking that veil off and being able to be like, oh, this person actually is XYZ. Because I'm also a coach for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And as soon as people see that, they automatically put me in a different category as well. Mm-hmm. And they don't know that, like, Lil Mel came from the soupy hood. You know what I'm saying? Like, I come from, like, a Chicano-ass family, you know? And so my goal with, obviously, this episode, but this entire series is to really help shed illusions entirely and plant the seeds in your mind of openness and not putting people on pedestals, aka allowing them to be human. Because if there's one thing that I hate, it's being put on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't tell you how many times through this journey people have put me on a pedestal to the point where, like, I disappointed them when I didn't speak on something or talk about the war or this, and they're like, somebody came to me like, oh, you have such a big platform with all these people, you should be saying things like this, or you should be, you know. And I'm like, no, I don't have to. I can do whatever feels good for me based off of who I am and my past and my journey and my beliefs and the way that I want to express myself. Because I even had one time somebody say something to me about how I expressed myself on a specific topic, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to talk how I want to talk, and I'm going to express how I want to express. Yes, I'm mindful that there is a responsibility there, but sometimes that responsibility can be so restricting. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of us leaders, teachers, healers in the personal development space, and shout out to the motherfuckers who completely broke free of that, but I feel like there's still a level of that, you know?
And you really don't know, like, where someone's at in their journey and why they're choosing not to speak.
Right.
Because for me, where I'm at right now and why I felt like so detached from the current election, something I'm really trying to be conscious and embody more is, how do I create, I don't want to add any more noise to the world, unnecessary noise. There's already tons of people talking about both sides of the spectrum here. I actually want to be a place where people feel like there isn't pressure in this space.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, wherever I can reduce or eliminate pressure from my life or from other people's life, that's the phase that I'm at.
Right.
Because they can seek out that information. They're already following probably 100 pages that are feeding them their beliefs, and they're getting it enough.
Right.
They don't need to hear from me.
Yeah.
You know, and when I do have conversations, like, I may have been quiet on social media, but I am talking to my friends who want to talk about it. I am asking them questions. Brian and I are having conversations all the time about what's going on. I'm just not going to pull out my phone and add to the noise in this space, because there's so much noise. And something, again, that I'm trying to spread right now is, I want to remove noise, because there's just so much.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I like that. Removing more noise. I actually made a post about it. I was like, how to stay, like, do it for the regulation. Do it for the regulation. Every time you're doing something, like, is this going to regulate me or dysregulate me?
Yeah.
Do it for the regulation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm moving in right now.
I feel that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. In not adding to the noise.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Putting out a series.
Here we are putting out a motherfucking series. But this is going to be fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a beautiful creative outlet. Thank you guys for those of you who are tuning in. For those of you who continue to tune in, we're going to be diving into topics like social media. We're going to be diving into topics like aging. We're going to be diving into topics like social politics and relationships and family dynamics and the personal development industry, because we are in it and we've been in it for a long time. And in ways, it's not all what you think it is. Yeah. And just, again, bringing transparency, vulnerability, that raw, authentic conversations around these things from our perspective, being entrepreneurs in the personal development space.
Yeah, I feel like we have so many of these really great conversations amongst friends. And whenever I have these conversations amongst people who aren't maybe necessarily in our circle, but people who I meet, or we just get in these good conversations, I always hear, like, thank you for saying that, because I've been thinking that. And I felt like I was the only one who felt this way about a topic.
Right.
You know, and like, thank you for normalizing that that's what I'm moving through as well, because I feel like there's so many new topics these days. You touched on social media or even aging naturally. Like, these are new things that we're moving through collectively.
Yeah.
And there's so many different beliefs and opinions and choices that we can move with. And I don't feel like there's a lot of people on the forefront talking about it the way that we think about it.
Right.
You know, we see one side a lot, but the way that we're moving through this stuff, it's not spoken about as much, at least not from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to opening that dialogue. And my true hope is that when anyone listens to this, they feel seen.
Right.
Like, really seen, because I know when I see someone, and let's just like jump the gun on a quick topic just because it's relevant, but like when I saw Leslie, when I met Leslie for the first time, and I saw all of her beautiful gray hairs, I felt like she understands me and the choices that I've decided to make about aging naturally and gracefully, and like, thank you for representing like what I'm trying to do and normalizing that. And my hope is through these conversations and really who we are as people and how we show up, that people listen to this and it gives them permission to make a choice that they want to make, whatever it is, because somebody else is doing it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, if they're doing it, like, yeah, I feel good about it too.
Yeah.
It's permission, because that's really what Leslie gave. She doesn't know that.
Now you do,
Leslie, she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
But like, I like hope that we can be that for somebody on one of these topics.
Yeah. And I'm also like interested to and excited to dive into the topics where we aren't fully aligned in.
Yeah.
Those are going to be good.
Yeah.
Those are going to be good. All right. Well, to wrap this up, honoring our humanhood journeys and our little selves that had traveled through all the fuck shit to get to who and how and where we are now. Cheers.
Yes.
Shout out to Ananda Elixirs.
Yes.
Cheers to the old us, the new us, and a future us.
Yes.